I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show. I'm speaking with Tim Tate, who is the co-author with Ingrid von Oelhoffen of a book, Hitler's Forgotten Children. This is the story of the Lebensborn program and how it was lived by children who were victims of it. Ingrid doesn't understand who Erica is, though everybody now and again refers to her as having an earlier life. She's a foster child. It is now the 1960s. Ingrid is an adult, and she's training to be a physiotherapist, as her stepmother, foster mother, Gisela is. She comes back, however, to live in Hamburg because Gisela falls down the stairs and plunges into a coma. Tim, I have to say at this point, I was struck by this. Was Gisela a deeply troubled person before the fall? Was there suggestion that she was drinking or some behavior that could lead to a coma for 6 months?
No, not to my knowledge. Ingrid has never mentioned or found any indication that Gisela was drinking or anything like that. Was she a troubled woman? She was a secretive woman.
Right.
As we'll discover, she deliberately withheld knowledge and information which Ingrid desperately needed.
And no one tells her, and she doesn't confront it. And Tim, I completely understand this, how you don't want to deal with shadows in the house if there's a darkness in the house. And oftentimes children grow up knowing that there's some secret they should never touch. And the parents tell them, don't ask. And we'll see repeatedly that's what happens to Lebensborn children. Quickly now, Gisela becomes dependent upon Ingrid, and Ingrid takes over the practice, becomes the chief breadwinner. We go through the 1970s, the 1980s. Ingrid does not marry, and she continues to be professionally successful, but we're going to race ahead to the fact that she has what looks to be a step-brother, Hubertus. Hubertus dies of AIDS in the 1980s, and still the secret doesn't come up, even though Gisela has now lost her only son, and Ingrid has cared for her all these years. There's no gratitude, they don't share clarity, and Ingrid is permitted or abandoned to continue in this shadow world of Erica Ingrid. We come to the fall of the wall, and Tim, my reading of the wall is this spiritually opened things up for all of Germany. Is that a fair summary now, all these years later?
I think so. I mean, bear in mind that I'm not German, I'm British, and that I'm viewing, however I view this, it's always going to be coloured by that. But I think this was the dam breaking. We have to remember that Germany, from the end of the war, from the point at which East Germany is formed, this is a country, a very troubled country. Both East and West are troubled. They're troubled by what has been, what the Nazis did in Germany and did outside Germany, and they're troubled as well because they are at the epicenter of the Cold War. It's almost, the sense I had is of a place, a country, a nation, two nations maybe, holding their breath. Right. And the wall comes down, and the first breaches in the dam of secrecy start to appear.
10 years later, our heroine, Ingrid, finds a box, Gisela's box, and she opens it up and discovers documents that are critical, but still don't tell the whole story. One document has her birth date, November 11th, 1941, a place called St. Sauerbrunn. Another document has an official stamp on it, and it points to a Lebensborn home called Sonnenwiese in Kolren, Salis, August 4th, 1944. Another document, very critical, says that her fostering parents, Hermann and Gisela, took possession of her June 3rd, 1944. And then there is a document signed by Dr. Tesch, SS. Is that the first time she realizes that this has something to do with the Nazi high command?
Yes, it is. She has no idea until that point that she has been caught up or begun life in something quite so sinister.
We began with the testimony at the Nuremberg trials, 1947. This is now 1999. It is more than 50 years later, and one of the victims of Lebensborn has been provided no information to her knowledge. This is a discerning, extremely educated, hardworking member of the German society. given no information about who she is or where she came from. She's about to, however, see that change when she gets a call, I guess from out of nowhere, from the Red Cross. What is the information, Tim?
It's a simple question. They say to Ingrid, out of the blue, do you want to know where you came from?
She says yes, but
extraordinary thing to say to somebody.
What is to be done? I mean, Tim, when I got to that part of the book, I thought, I don't know, let me think about this. Because she had to be aware of the fact that she was going to open up a door that could lead her anywhere.
Exactly. I mean, there is this... that's why I say it's such an extraordinary thing to say to somebody, do you want to know where you came from? Particularly in Germany, particularly with all that history, particularly with everything to do with the Cold War as well. And to my mind, it's both a testimony to Ingrid's bravery, and she is an extraordinarily brave woman. And also, it speaks to the deep sense of longing within her that she has to know who she is. She knows she's not really Ingrid von Ollhafen, but she doesn't know who Erika Matko is.
I'm presuming it's now 1999 that we have this information now, thanks to you and thanks to the movie, the film that you've made of this. But was Lebensborn a conversation piece in 1999? Did Ingrid have this and was just ignoring it around her, or was this all just kept under the covers in 99?
Absolutely not talked about openly in 1999. Lebensborn would not really begin to be talked about. That's a convoluted phrase, but it means what it says. The beginnings of people beginning to talk about it wouldn't be for another 5 or 6 years. In 1999, Lebensborn was still something shameful for the German people.
The scale of this is terrifying. The book is Hitler's Forgotten Children, Ingrid von Ollhafen and Tim Tate, a true story of the Lebensborn program. When we come back, about the film that Tim's made of this. I'm John Batchelor. This is The John Batchelor Show.